Hello, everybody. I'm Jack Leeser. I'm here starting the Coachman channel, and this is an agent for growth and change. Life is about growing because if you're not growing, you're dying. My goal on the Coachman channel is to inspire and grow and make change to create a meaningful life. With us today, I have a special guest in Janelle Anderson, and we're going to talk about helping women 40 plus quit their job and get to the place where they really want to be in their life. And we're going to cover some topics and, how do you know what you really want to do? What are the 3 top challenges that are holding most women back from doing what they really want? And the third main thing is learning 3 powerful action steps that you can take to move forward. So Janelle, thank you for joining us here today. I sure appreciate that. And I'd love for you to just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, and how you got to where you are.
Well, that sounds like a great plan. Hi, Jack, and thank you so much for having me today. I'm just really thrilled to be here. So I am 64, so just for people to know that I know women don't usually tell their age, but I do, because I really want to inspire women of 40 and older that you can start something new. You can definitely start doing what you really want to do in your 40s and 50s and even 60s, because I was one of them. So I was a teacher most of my career. I taught middle school, elementary school, and for like 20 some years. And I got burned out on that. And then my husband and I went into business. We did a couple of local businesses in our area here for a while. And I enjoyed parts of that. Parts of it I didn't. And then, the economy was bad back in 09 and 10, and we ended up having to close the business. So I went back to work, and by then I was in my later 50s, and something happened to me during that time where, mid to late 50s, where I always describe it as waking up, like, alarm goes off and you wake up. Well, alarms like were going off in my spirit, in my soul, and I was waking up to kind of like, oh my gosh, what happened? I'm 50 something. I mean, where did the 50 years go? And what do I want to do now with my life, going forward? And so after I had the wake up call, I made a decision. I remember it very clearly, sitting in church where my pastor was talking about like following your destiny, and that everybody has a calling and a purpose. And but just because you have that doesn't guarantee that you're going to actually follow it. And I remember sitting there going, feeling that whole thing of getting older. And then all of a sudden realized, he drew this picture of a path on the board, and I could see myself at the end of the path looking back over my life thinking, oh no, I didn't do what I was created to do. I didn't fulfill it, And so that was my wake up call. And I remember having a very conscious moment of making a decision right then, like, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to figure this out and find my thing that I'm called to do and figure out how to do it, and so that began a journey for me. It took a few years, but I really searched it out, did a lot of considering of different things, and I resisted the urge to like just jump on something, and really thoughtfully spent time searching it out. And one of the driving factors in that for me was I knew that I wanted to do something on my own. I wanted to start my own business from home because, getting close to 60, you start thinking about retirement. And I had always taught in a small private school, and my husband had a nonprofit business for years. We just really didn't have retirement, So I joke around. I tell people I didn't want to work at a job until I'm 80,
Yeah.
I wanted to figure out what could I do from home on my own and make money doing it and have the flexible hours. And so I knew I wanted that. And so that's where I started my search, and eventually landed at coaching because, and this is something I'll talk on maybe a little later in the webinar. I was at the time working as an office manager at a university near me, And they are very big on the StrengthsFinder assessment, which is a Gallup product. And so we took it, you take it and have somebody coaches you around your top 5 strengths. And so when I saw what those were and then got some coaching around it, it was really, really cool because it confirmed a lot of why I always get pulled in a certain direction, or why I always feel very strong passion around seeing the potential in people and drawing it out. That's why I was a teacher, you know. And so then I learned how to coach around the StrengthsFinder. And I found myself asking everybody, all my family, everybody I knew, would you please take the StrengthsFinder? And then I'll sit down with you and we'll talk about it, okay? And so
and most of them are like, I'm running the other way.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
No, actually, most of them were like, oh, yeah, sure, that'd be great.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I enjoyed it so much that I realized, oh, this is something maybe I should look into doing. You know, is coaching really a thing? I mean, is that something I can make money at?
Sure.
So I went from there and really researched that. And finally, I had to take the step, and I was 60 by then. And I had to battle those thoughts of, you're too old. What are you thinking? You know, starting something new and going to school and spending the money and then starting a business. But I knew, you know, this was it. It's now or never. I'm getting older, you know, now's the time to go for it. So
Yeah.
So
what do you feel like was you said it kind of pushed you. What do you think was that determining factor that just is like, I've got to do something different?
Good question. I know for women and men probably too, but I know particularly for women during the late 40s into 50s, there's some patterns that happen that seem to be very common. And there's a lot of hormonal change going through menopause. Your kids are growing up and leaving the nest. And you start to even, and I know men go through this too, this wake up kind of like becoming really aware of like, wow, you know, life's really gone by fast. I've spent all these years doing this career or whatever. And now, so that combination for me, I think was true too. My daughter, it's saying my internet connection's unstable. I hope I'll be okay. My daughter had just recently, you know, grown up, graduated college, we live in Virginia, and she moved all the way to California. She was my only child. And I was going through menopause and all the hormonal stuff was going on there. We were running this business that I had never done before. And so everything with that, everything kind of converged in this time of my life. And so I think when I sat in church that day and just was listening to that, it was after the businesses had closed. It was another transition. And I was just like, what am I doing? You know, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? Am I really happy? And I think along with that too is just really being aware of my what I really enjoy in life, and I really want to do it. I don't want to waste any more time doing something else for somebody else. I want to do what I want to do, you know, and that really was a motivating factor for me. It just, yeah.
So it's kind of like you hit this stage where it's like, if I don't really make some changes, I'm just going to keep heading down the same track that I'm on, and that track doesn't look very attractive to me anymore. It's like I've kind of been there, done that, and now I have enough life experience to know that's not where I want to finish my life.
Yeah, exactly. And change is hard, you know, for people. And sometimes it's easier to stay in that comfort zone, stay where you're familiar. And I had done that for a really long time. I'm really good at rationalizing and tolerating. This is good enough. You know, I like this job. Okay. And I had done that for most of my life. And I was starting to like really become aware of that and questioning, you know, really asking myself, okay, do you want to keep 10 years from now? Do you still want to be doing this? And I was like, no. And so it was time for me, it was scary. I'm not good at taking risks. You to step out there and try to not only learn to be a coach, but I knew I could be a good coach, but run a business too, start a business and run it and make money. I mean, but I just decided, you know what? I can learn it. I'm a quick learner. I'll just learn it. I'll learn what I have to learn and I will make it work. And yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's cool. So that change then happened. So you're talking about change is really hard for most people, and you're saying that's a challenge for you.
Yeah.
There was something that changed in you to say, hey, I need to move into that. And you talked a little bit about your future. So was that the guiding force that's like, I need to do this, or was it something else?
It was at the job that I was at when I finally decided to sign up for the coach training. I had only been there not even 2 years, and I was already restless and bored. And that was a tendency for me. I would get a job. I liked it. I was good at it, but it wasn't really the thing that lit me on fire, and that's what I mean about tolerating. Like, I could do the job. I was good at it. I was an admin assistant, manager, and I could do that kind of work and do it really well. But I was bored, and I just thought, oh gosh, I'm restless. I gotta, and what I loved to do was go out and talk to the receptionists and talk about their life and their goals. And I was already like coaching them. That's what I loved doing, was helping other people. And so that was the motivating thing, I think, for me, was I've got to make this change. I just can't keep going job to job and not being happy,
Yeah. The reason I'm kind of digging into that particular point is I think that's the challenge for most of us, is that to actually make the decision. And because I think what you're talking about, there's many of women out there, and I think many a man can identify with that particular thing, is I really want to make that change. I want to go, because what you're talking about is very similar to myself, is I kind of reaching this point where it's like, okay, I've been there, done that. Now I'm reaching at this stage in my life where there's other things I want to do and accomplish. If I don't make some changes, that's not going to happen. And so it's making that decision. So let's kind of dig into that a little bit, if you will. Is you're talking about, what do women really want, and maybe we'll go there first. Is what do we really want, or you women really want? And my guess is it's probably similar to men with a different twist to it. But what do you want, and then what's it taking to get there?
Yeah. Well, I think that really for anybody, it's different. And that's the cool thing about the Strengths Finder or other kinds of assessment, is to discover what makes you unique and figure out how to apply that in a way that you're doing. What you're doing comes out of who you are, but first you have to discover who you are. And a lot of this is in a free ebook that I have out there on my website. So it goes into these 3 questions that you need to ask yourself before you quit your day job. And one of them is really getting clear on what it is you really, really want before you jump ship and start going there, because you don't want to you don't want to make a change, like you're talking about, make a change and then find out that's not what I really want.
Sure.
So for each person, I think it's different and unique, and it's worth the time and effort and energy to search that out. Because I believe personally, one of my highest values and beliefs is that we were each created with a certain design and innate abilities, innate behaviors, like things that we're strong at, things that come naturally to us that we really enjoy. And we were created with that design and a calling, a destiny, a purpose, to use it to impact the world, you know. And then when you're doing that, you're really fulfilled and satisfied because you're doing what you're created to do. And that's what I believe the design is for. And so many people are not doing it. So many people are missing that. And so that's my passion, is like, if everybody was stepping into that, how awesome, you know, the whole world would be. And so it's worth.
I totally agree with you on that. I mean, I think you're hitting it right on. I like, one time I heard this guy was talking about is each one of us has a diamond within us. And I just really like that analogy. And
Definitely.
each one of us was put on this earth for a particular purpose, or particular diamond. So
Yeah. So it's worth going and digging up that diamond and polishing it and discovering all of its unique facets and how it shines and reflects light. It's unique, right? Every diamond's unique.
Mm-hmm.
We are too. Yeah. So there's not a formula for everyone to follow that, you know, this is what you really want to do, but it's that searching that gets you there. And for some people, it's difficult to figure that out. It's kind of a mystery. It's not, your purpose doesn't just appear. This is what I've learned. Like, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is it doesn't just appear. You actually have to discover it. You know, you have to find it, just like mining. I love your analogy of the diamonds. You have to go mine them and dig them up. They don't just appear.
And you have to polish them. You have to clean, you know, diamonds don't actually come from coal, but that analogy of chipping the coal off and polishing them up, you know, it's a good metaphor for our own selves.
It definitely is. Yeah.
So how do we get to know ourselves better?
There are lots of ways to do this. In my book, there are some exercise or some questions, a little exercise you can do, but there's tons of stuff out there. You know, the Strengths Finder is one assessment, but really sitting down and asking yourself things like, what do I love to do? And I could do for hours and hours and lose track of time and forget to eat and can't wait to go back and do it again. That's one thing. Like, what are those times and what am I doing? And what is it I love, you know, I love so much about it. You could ask yourself, when have I been the most successful in my life and really felt, you know, like I achieved something? What were the strengths in me that helped me to do that? What do other people see in me, you know, or compliment me on? So there's a whole set of questions. You can sit down and just kind of journal all those out. There's assessments you can take to search that out. And speaking of that, I've got you can download my book and get those exercises, but I've also got a call coming up Friday night that I'm going to talk about this. How do you discover your strengths?
Awesome.
So yeah, there's a link on my website if anybody wants to go and check that out.
Yeah, and you can give your website now, and I'll put a link at the bottom of the video too.
Okay. Yeah, my website is emerginglifecoaching.com. So EMERGING lifecoaching.com.
Cool. So that discovery process, you know, you're talking about getting to figure more out about yourself by asking these particular questions, maybe asking some other people, really finding out what you want or what you like and what you dislike. Because if, like you were saying earlier, if you don't really know who you are, you can say, oh, I'd love this sounds good to me, but you get down there and you're going to go, no, that's not really what I want to be doing. And so it's you just have to know, you have to get to know yourself, start uncovering your own diamonds, your own self, to know, okay, is this what I want to be doing in 5 years or 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the nail on the head with that. And I find that so many people don't really know who they are. They are believing they are a certain person because this is what they've always done, or because other people have told them, or maybe they are used to doing something in like a job, like maybe they've been, like I was an administrative assistant or a teacher or a nurse or whatever, a doctor or Indian chief, lawyer,
Mhm.
and you've been doing that for a long time, and especially for the women I work with, they've been at a job for many years. It's just, it wasn't necessarily their calling. They just did it out of necessity. They needed to have a job, have an income, and they've just been doing it for a long time and they're used to it. And so that can begin to feel like, well, maybe this is my purpose. Maybe this is who I am. And how many people really sit down and do a soul search of who am I really?
Mhm. Mhm.
A lot of people don't, because you don't have the time, or you don't know how, or life is busy. You've got to cook dinner and clean the house and take care of the kids, and life just keeps going on, and you
Yeah.
don't ever stop and think about that. But you're right. If what you're doing is coming out of who you are, that makes all the difference in the world. It's not striving anymore. It's like a flow. It doesn't feel like it takes effort. You don't feel like you're working.
Mhm. Mhm. So, our topic is to help the woman quit their day job and go into what they really want to do. So, what are some of the issues that you see women face with that? If
Mm.
they've got this job, they're doing this job, and like we were talking earlier, they've come to this point. They're like, I really don't want to be doing this anymore. It doesn't satisfy me. I don't. 10 years out or 5 years out or 2 years out, it's just like, if I've got to do that any longer, it's just like, ah
Mm.
what are the issues going on there, and then maybe what we can do about
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, good question. I've found there's a lot of them, but the top three that I run into a lot and that I struggled with myself, for women that are over 40, especially midlife ages, 40 to 60 or even older. The big one is, I'm too old to start something new. I've been doing, like I said, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. I'm too old to learn something new. It becomes this age thing. And I think a lot of that comes from even our society's messages for us older people that we've heard all our life, that when you get to be retirement age or close to it, it's time to slow down. It's time to kind of take a back seat, go sit in the
Mhm.
rocking chair, take it easy. And we've heard this all of our lives. And now the baby boomers generation is like redefining retirement. We're not slowing down. And so it's shifting that mindset out of age being a factor. If you're still breathing, this is my say, if you're still alive and breathing, you still have stuff to do.
Well, and that leads into a lot of research that they're coming out with now.
Yep.
Is as soon as you quit doing things, you quit moving, you start deteriorating your body. Like, I started with, if you're not growing,
Mm-hmm.
you're dying.
Yeah.
So if you're not using your body and doing things, a few months ago, I was watching this program with some of these old guys. Carl Reiner did this show on his friends, and Mel Brooks and um, Dick, the guy who played in Mary Poppins. These guys
Dick
are
Van
all,
Dyke.
yeah, they're all in their 90s, and they're
Mhm.
still out doing all these things. And
Yep.
that was what the video was about, is staying active is what kept them into their 90s.
Yes.
And so that's what you're talking about there.
Yes. And even active mentally as well. Having a purpose, um, when you get into those older ages, one of the biggest things also that has shown up in research and things I've read about that kind of that season of life, that one of the most common things is that desire to give back, that desire to have a meaningful impact on
Mm-hmm.
others.
Mm-hmm.
have all this wisdom and all this experience and all this knowledge. My dad is 93. He still
Awesome.
drives his car, lives on his own, very sharp mentally, still doing, writing. He wrote a book on his life. He still is
That's amazing.
making an impact. Yeah. And his sister is 95 and she's still with us living on her own. So, these are people that stayed active. They had a purpose in their life. Reading and learning, like you said, growing all the time will help you and there's no reason to stop, really. Yeah. So that's one challenge and so the way to beat that is really just that mind shift change. And, I remember thinking those thoughts, like, maybe I'm too old to do something like this, and then I was like, I talked to myself. I was like, no, you're not. You're still alive. What are you talking about?
So do you feel like that was what it took to kind of break through that, or were there some other things you had to do to kind of help you through that age thing?
I think what helped me, besides just kind of talking to myself, was I looked around and I saw, well, my dad's a great inspiration to me right there, but I saw I started reading about women, especially in their older age, over 50, and what all the things that they're doing, all these phenomenal women just doing tremendous things, starting their own businesses and having, an impact in like nonprofit or community organizations or writing books or whatever. And that inspired me. I was like, hey, wait, if they can do it, so can I.
Yeah.
There's evidence out there that age is not does not have to be a hindrance. It's something new, and I have a really strong faith too. I really believed that that God was leading me in this direction and that he would provide whatever I needed. And that's still true. So I found him to be very faithful. And then, of course,
Awesome.
my husband was very supportive as well. And that's really important, is to have that support group around you, good friends or your partner, your spouse, to tell you, hey, yeah, you can do this. Why not? I'm here with you, support you. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Yep.
So
And
cool.
then another challenge was, or I have found to be a big challenge, is for older people. And I don't know if it's so true of men as it is for women, but I found this consistently for women in their 50s and beyond, is really struggling with technology. So unless women have already been kind of in that place of using technology all along and growing with it, there's a whole lot of women in this age range that really have not kept up with it. And they're very intimidated by it. Even getting on Zoom, like we're on tonight, for some of my clients is like, oh, I don't know. So there's a fear of, how do I learn how to, especially if you're going to do a business where you have to market online. In today's world, the computer is like, you've got to. So that can hold a lot of people back, older people. And the way to really combat that is, like I said, I'm just going to learn it. And if I can't learn it, I'll find somebody who's good at it and I'll pay them to do it, or I'll barter with them, or, make a deal. I'll coach them and they can do this for me. There's ways to get past that one. Don't let that hold you back, because there's plenty of people out there that know how to do it. And some of the stuff's pretty simple to learn, basic stuff. I learned it.
No, I think you're right. It's a huge thing. And the cool thing is there's so much information out there about it. Whatever you want to learn, you can pretty much go to YouTube and or somebody's on there sharing.
Yeah.
But my guess is it's more the overwhelm. There's so much to learn, and it's like, where do you start with that?
That's a good point. Definitely. I found that what works for a lot of people, a lot of my clients that I work with, is to take one little thing at a time. Just learn one thing and don't try to learn it all at once.
Yes.
Just focus on one little step at a time, one little skill or whatever, until you get that. And then you feel confident, and then you can learn the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. That
Right.
sounds like a real clear thing, is just puts your focus on that
Yeah.
one thing and get that good, and then move on to the next thing. So,
Yeah.
cool.
And then the third challenge that stops a lot of women is being worried about what everybody else is thinking about what they're doing, other people's opinions. What will my friends say if they hear that I'm quitting my job and starting a business or whatever? What is my husband going to think? What are my children going to think? What are my coworkers going to think? Or, and so we make up these stories in our head, right? That people are going to think something, or that I can't do it because I need other people to be in agreement with me in order to do this. And so then we make up this story in our head and we start really believing that the story is true. And then we decide, well, I can't do it then because I'm not going to have support, or people are going to think I'm crazy. I don't want people to think I'm crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big one. And you just kind of have to just throw that one right out the window because it doesn't matter what they think. It's your life, right? In 10 years, what are they going to be doing? Are they going to be, doing what you want to do? Are they going to be around, or, are they going to have a factor in it? I mean,
Yeah,
it's up to you to live your own life and follow and then on top of that, you'll be an inspiration to them. If you do it, I guarantee you.
mm-hmm.
They'll be like, oh, she can do it. I can do it.
There you go. Yeah, I think there's a book even by this title. It's none of my business what somebody else thinks of me.
Yeah.
Something
I
like
like
that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So, we really take on that, all these other people, what their thoughts are, then that's going to influence me.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes we'll make up a story and it's not even true. If you were to go ask that person, "Hey, what do you think about me doing this?" They probably say, "Wow, that'd be great. You should do it." You get
Mhm.
up in your mind that they're going to say, "What, are you crazy?"
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So what do you feel like are some things they can do, like right now, if that's going on in their head, what's something they could do to start combating that? It's
yeah.
an ongoing thing. I think we all deal with that, but what's something they could do?
Yeah, no, that's sometimes can take a lot of inner work because there's probably some limiting beliefs around that, or what we call gremlins in our credit. Be some underlying, like, subconscious thoughts, beliefs that have been there a long time,
Hmm.
that you can't always break through on your own. You don't even know they're there. You just it's more of a subconscious thing. So you might want to talk to somebody, like a coach or a counselor, or somebody that could help you figure out exactly what it is about other people's opinions that is stopping you. So there could be, that kind of work there. The other thing is to just start asking people what they think instead of assuming that they're thinking something.
Mm.
Get like your closest friends and family, those people that love you, that you're closest to. Make sure you ask people that are positive and for you, because you don't want to get the opinion from somebody that is not for you and is a negative kind of a person, because you don't need that input. They're going to see the problem. They're going to see what's wrong. But if
Mm.
you go to somebody that's positive and that's really for you, and just say, hey, what do you think? This is something I'm thinking about doing. Help me walk through it. What are your thoughts? And then just listen to them, and don't assign a label to it, like what they're saying is right, wrong, good, bad. It's just listen openly and see what you could learn from what they're saying. And maybe they'll give you another side of it you haven't thought of, or maybe they'll have a resource you could go to. Maybe they will get you thinking in a way you haven't thought before, so you could really get a lot of value out of asking for input from others, as long as the decision's yours and it's your life and you're the one that's going to answer to you 10 years down the road, whether or not you
Mm-hmm.
followed your dream. So I think that can be really helpful. And then, like I said, make sure you've got support around you, that
Yeah.
people that will really be with you no matter what you decide. They're going to support you and not judge you, but be your accountability people and your support, cheering you on, whatever you decide.
And do you find that that's family or maybe friends, or maybe like you brought in coach or mentor, maybe that needs to be the person?
Well, really, in this kind of situation or transition, a coach is a hugely valuable person to work with because they don't give you advice. They don't get, they don't like tell you what to do, or they don't come in with an agenda to lead you. They're there to help
It's
you
not personal
figure
for.
out. Yeah, they're there to help you discover what it is you really want, what's best for you, and then help you plan it out, help you break through anything stopping you. They're there really for you to discover your own, rather than say, "Oh, you should do this, and you should do it this way." That would be more a mentor or a consultant, and sometimes those are important. But if you're trying to figure out what you really want to do, um, and uh, um, and let it come from who you are, or even all that discovery stuff we were talking about.
Hmm.
Working with a coach, working with a coach is very valuable, very powerful, and can help you get there a lot faster than trying to do it on your own. Family members can be really helpful if they don't have their own agenda,
Mm.
and sometimes that can be really tricky with
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
So you have to pick and choose, if friends, same thing. Sometimes friends can be super supportive and they want the best for you, but they end up getting me, it's not me.
Yeah.
I want to do that too. And the next thing you know, you're off and running, or uh, they may they may be afraid for you to take that step because it might threaten them in some way. They might feel like, oh, you won't have as much time for me. There could be all kinds of other things going on.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Um,
Sure. So, what do you feel like is the challenge that is just unique to the women?
hmm.
Because you're talking about this, helping women, make that transition. So, what are some things that are unique to the women?
I think one of the things that's unique to women is the struggle sometimes with guilt when they start thinking about investing in their own dreams, investing money, investing time, because women generally are the nurturers in the family. They're usually the ones that spend the time with the kids, raising the kids. Their focus is usually on family and home, and they've spent years in that space and have, I mean, it's very much a common thing that even if they're working a job, or even if they're pursuing a career, they're still kind of putting themselves last
Mm,
in a lot of ways. And um, they're used to always putting themselves last, and kind of that subconscious thought of, well, I can do without that. It's okay. We really need the money for this, or, I really shouldn't do that because my husband needs it or my kids need it. And they're just so used to thinking that way that there's this underlying like feeling of guilt, and almost like if I invest in me, I feel selfish.
mm.
There's like limiting belief around that, and that's a tough one. And I think that's unique to women. I'm not sure how many men, because men are used to pursuing their careers and um,
Sure, sure.
you know following their path.
Yeah,
Um,
so it sounds like there's a lot of shoulds in there. I should do this, I should do that, and my own
yes.
my own things are kind of on the back burner, and yeah, maybe we'll get to that one day.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
which may lead into why, like you were saying, why it takes you till you're 60 years old and go, well, that one day is coming up pretty quick here, or is,
Yeah.
not too many more days left. So
Yeah. If I don't do it
realize,
now,
yeah,
yeah. hmm Yeah, and then what happens, either what I found is either it's that wake up call, like, okay, now's the time. It's time for me now. And they work through making that shift in their thinking and realize, no, investing in me is really good for everybody, because then I'm going to be happy and fulfilled and have more energy and be more engaged in life. And plus, if I'm following my dream and passion and destiny, then I'm giving back. I'm going to be making an impact. So, really seeing it as more than just, it's not just about them. If they can make that shift, that's one way. And then the other way I see women go is staying in that mode of, it's just good enough. It's okay. I don't want to shake up the comfort zone. I don't want to shake up the status quo. I'll just make do. I'll be okay. I'll just find fun things to do, and, I'll be okay. I mean, it's okay. It's that kind of mode. And
Yeah, yeah. It's an okay life.
Mhm.
Kind of just being where everything's there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, let's shift gears now and go into what are some of you were talking about, you had 3 powerful action steps that they can take to kind of make that transition from where they are in their job into moving into where they want to go.
Absolutely. I think number one is to give yourself permission, just like we were just talking about the whole guilt thing, and waiting, wondering what other people think, almost like waiting for somebody to tell you it's okay to start pursuing your dreams. You don't really need that. You can just give yourself permission. And if, like we were talking earlier, whatever you need to do to kind of get yourself in that space, but really understanding that it's up to you. It's making a conscious choice. It's your life. You're the only you there is in the world, and only you can master being you, and nobody else can. Nobody else, even your partner, your spouse, or your best friend, can tell you who you are and who you should be. Only you can really decide that and what you want to do. So give yourself permission to do it and to search it out and to investigate it and explore it at least. Love yourself enough to do that,
And what I'm hearing there too is even what I've experienced is a lot of us don't even give ourselves permission to dream it.
Right. Yes.
Let alone do it. We're not even allowing ourselves to dream it.
That is so true, because sometimes it seems like, oh, I shouldn't go there because if you start dreaming about something, then you have to decide, do I want to make it real or not? And maybe it seems too impossible to even, I shouldn't be thinking that way. I shouldn't, all the shoulds. So stop shoulding on yourself, right? And give yourself permission to be you. It's all about being you anyway, really. When you think about it, really, it's be who you are and express who you are in the way that, is your way, just whatever you do is an expression of who you are. So you have permission to be you. And if you need permission, I'm giving you permission.
There you go. And give them one action step around permission.
Oh, okay. Let's see. One action step. Well, I think probably you could do several things. You could read some books around the topic to really inspire you, or you could sit down and journal out your dreams. Just dream. Like, what did you want to do when you were a little girl and you just have shelved it? Start writing it out, because when you start writing things out, they become very real. When you see it written out or you read about somebody else doing it, then you can look at that and say, you know what? This is who I am. And you can even write the statement, I give myself permission to be who I am, and put that in front of you. Just give yourself permission. I think that's
awesome.
Probably the best thing. Write it out.
Yeah. I like that.
I do too. I actually have a little thing written out, and I put it in front of my computer, and it says, I give myself permission to be great.
Awesome.
Yeah. So cool.
That is.
So a second action step would be, I wrote these down. I did look because oh yeah, well, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, but once you give yourself permission, get really, really clear on what it is you want to do before you do anything. Take that time to discover, do the self-discovery. Don't just, like Jack, you said earlier, don't just grab anything that comes along. During that process that I was going through, I looked at lots of different things. Being a virtual assistant at home, selling a nutritional product, what was the other? Being a tutor, like starting a tutoring program. I looked at all these different things, and I started to, I even bought a book about virtual assisting and watched some webinars. I did some research, and the more I got into it, I was like, it'd be nice to have my own business. I'd have the flexibility, but I don't think I would like the work very much. I think, again, I would get bored again. So no, I'm not going to do that. So when you're giving yourself permission, and then you're really getting clear on what you really want, give yourself permission, even in that process, to be picky and to be clear on what it really is that you really, really want to do, and get help with that if you need to.
And what I'm hearing there too is that clarity, it goes back to finding out who you are. That's why you kind of started off with that, because if you don't know who you are, it's really hard to be clear on where you're going.
Yes.
And I think adding to that would be the idea that you try to get clear, or you're getting clear, but then you're like, yeah, but I think what you were just talking about, of giving yourself permission, then you start sabotaging yourself on, yeah, but I don't, all these other shoulds start playing into that. So all of these are really sound intertwined together.
Well, yeah. And what's coming up for me right now with what you're saying is you start to explore something you really want, and then the self-sabotage could come in with, oh, I don't know how to do that. I'm not good enough to do that. I don't have what it takes to do that. And you talk yourself right out of it.
Yeah.
So give yourself permission to really fully explore it. And if it is a part of who you are, as you're exploring who you are, then even if you don't know how to do it yet, give yourself permission to learn how to do it and to develop and grow that strength, that ability that you have into, it takes time and practice and skill and knowledge sometimes. You don't just become. So, I mean, that's a good thought. I remember when I started, when I really decided I was going to become a coach, well, I had to go learn to. I had to invest money and time and energy into developing the innate ability I already had into a skill with knowledge, practice, learning certain skills and then practicing it and then building confidence around it. And even though I had, you might have a natural ability, but adding to it, the skill and the knowledge and the learning and the training is a part of it. So don't let that stop you. I'm glad you said that, because that was really important.
How much do you feel like perfectionism kicks in here too?
Big time for a lot of people. Yeah. Like, if I can't do it perfectly, then I'm not going to even try it, because and you don't have to be, well, Bruce Schneider, who's the founder of our school, he says you're already perfect. You are. Who you are is already perfect. It's not a matter of doing things in a way that is considered, without flaw. It's all a part of learning and growing and seeing opportunities. I always think of Thomas Edison when you talk about perfection. He thousands and thousands of what people would call failures, right? And he would say, no, they're not failures. I just learned what doesn't work. He didn't see them as, they were opportunities to learn what doesn't work. So now I have one less thing, I could throw that out, and so yeah, perfectionism is that's another one of those blocks that really holds people back, and you might need to work through some of that underlying subconscious thoughts and stories you've told yourself, what you believe, about things that come from, can come from childhood. It can come from past experiences, just a subconscious belief around something.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you need help to figure that out and break through it, but it can be done.
Sure can. Yeah.
Don't give
Cool.
up.
Cool. What's number 3?
Number 3 is take some kind of action step. So even if it is a small step, what is the smallest, easiest step you can take? Even if it's like writing down a list of ideas, if it is writing down a goal, like in 6 months, I want to be here. And somehow when you put things down on paper, they become very real. Okay, it might be, the first step might be just, let me go Google my idea of what I want to do and see who's doing it. And, is it even possible to do? Is this something that could become a business? Is it even a thing? A small step could be reading something about it. Again, journaling is really good. So anything at all that you take some kind of action towards what it is you really want. So you've given yourself permission, you get really clear, and then start taking some action. Write down in a journal, a goal for each month, and then break that down, to each week. And then what's the first step? Just take one step. Once you start taking action, you feel like you're doing it. It just makes it real. And make it a small first step. Just start taking some action.
Awesome. Yeah, I like the saying of, taking action trumps inaction any day of the week.
This is true.
Even if it's the wrong action, like you were talking about Thomas Edison, you then learn, oh, that didn't work. But if you don't take any action, you don't learn, you don't move, you don't go ahead. So awesome. I really
get the train on the track and get it moving somehow, right? Just get it moving. Yeah. And you'll find when you start that process, then other things start opening up for you. Other things start becoming clear. More opportunities come your way. Once you get the thing moving, it starts the momentum. And if you're like a parked car, it doesn't go anywhere. So
yeah, exactly. Well, awesome. This has been really cool. Give us how people can get a hold of you. This time is just flying by. It's like, oh my gosh, such valuable stuff. So how can people get a hold of you? What do you have going on? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, they can, of course, go to my website. That has a lot of information on it. Again, it's emerginglifecoaching.com. Emerging, like emerging butterfly. That's my branding. On there, you can go to Fridays at noon. I do those live calls every week, and they can just call in, and I talk on a topic, and they can ask me questions. You can download my ebook right there. If you download my ebook, it puts you on my email list, and that's where you'll hear from me weekly about what I'm doing, things I have coming up. You can always unsubscribe if you want. So I'm just giving you warning. When you get my book, you get on my list, and that's great because you're in my community then. I love it.
Yeah, you can get all your information.
Yeah, you can join my Facebook group. I would love to have any women over 40 come join my Facebook group. We have a lot of fun in there. There's a link to it on my website as well. I will be in that call on Friday night offering a special offer for a package of how to find your strengths. So there'll be a special offer for that. And I'm also in the near future probably going to be kicking off my group again. I have a mastermind group called Live Your Dream Mastermind.
Awesome.
And it's a 12-week group where we meet online like this, and everybody has their own goals they're working on, and I do a lot of coaching, and then everybody has during the week the action steps they're taking, and you have that group synergy, working together and giving each other a lot of support and encouragement. And so that will be kicking off. I'm not sure exactly when yet because I'm tweaking it a little bit, but should be in the fall at some point. I'll kick that off again, so watch for that. And always, you can email me. You can, there's a
And
form on
do you have your email? Give your
oh,
email.
yeah. Sorry, yes. Janelle, Janelle, at emerginglifecoaching.com. So,
Awesome.
yeah, Janelle at, and then my website. And there's also a form on my website if you want to talk to me and set up a time to chat. You can do that. So lots of ways to get in
Yeah,
touch.
and guys, I would highly recommend, Janelle, she's part of the schooling that I've gone through. She's one of the coaches there, and she's been my coach, and so I'd highly recommend her. If you anything that inspired you here today, and she's talking about coaching and mentoring, and if you need that extra support, she'd be an awesome one to help you out with that. So go check her out. And I've got a few closing questions that I want to ask you.
Okay.
So what, what I'm trying to create is with the Coachman's channel here is all about growth and change. So to you, what does growth and change mean to you?
Hmm. Wow. What is growth and change? Well, they go together because if you're growing, you're going to change. um, it means new possibilities, new options. It's, um, I always think of, the butterfly coming out of the cocoon. It's new seasons, experiencing new things. I think makes me think of new things, just change is good. Change is the only thing that's constant. So even
Yeah.
though we are uncomfortable with change, if you can see that change is really good and it's something that we all have to deal with all the time, I like change, actually. I've always been a person that gets restless when things are the same too long. So growth and change are good. I love to learn. I love to grow. And so, yeah, I embrace it all the way.
Awesome. So, and this is a bit of what we've been talking about, but what's your advice on how to grow and change?
Hmm. Well, number one would be open to it. Don't be afraid of it. Um, be curious about your world, about yourself, about what the new things that growth can bring you. Just get really curious about your world, and you will find yourself growing. So be open and be curious and embrace it. Look for it. Look for opportunities to challenge yourself, to kind of stretch yourself a little bit. Because I don't think we were ever meant to just be stagnant, right? And like we were talking earlier about getting older, if you're always open to grow and change and learn, you'll stay young. You'll stay younger mentally and physically. So, hey, there's a bonus right there.
Yeah, I like that. Awesome.
Yeah.
So last question. You're you're sitting on this stage. I call it the world stage question. So you're on this stage and there's a microphone there and you're going to be broadcasting to every person on the planet. So what are two pieces of advice that you would give the world?
Wow. The whole world, huh? uh, okay. Wow. I think number one, first thing is to, I'm going to try to put this in a succinct way because it's kind of a big thing, but basically love people. That if you're pouring into people and you are loving those around you and and letting them know that you care, that they're worth so much and they're valuable, that to me is like the ultimate purpose we all have on this earth.
Mm,
And so make sure that you do not get so focused on yourself or on things or on money and achievement and all that stuff that passes away and neglect people. So love people, truly love people. And the second is, I think, would be kind of along the same line. Love yourself. Love yourself enough to be who you are. Or maybe it's be who you are. But you have to love yourself to be who you are. Really be you and be authentic to who you are in this world.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so, but thanks for having me. You did a great job hosting.
Oh,
And
thank you. I sure appreciate it.
yeah.